So hello everyone, this is Sanaya Agarwal, and today in this video I am going to discuss about the human heart. So human heart is the most important topic and yet complex topic. So I will try कि मैं इसको जितना भी simple हो सके उतना बनाने का try करूँ. Okay, and so let's start with the human heart. So human heart. So heart is a mesodermally derived organ, okay, and which function is to pump blood. So what is the function of blood? As we all know, the heart functions is to pump blood. And it is a mesodermal in origin. Many a times questions come in need that from which origin is the human heart. Okay, so it is mesodermal in origin. Okay, correct. So as we all know that the human heart is a four-chamber heart. So all we have the four-chamber heart. So the two relatively lower chamber and the two upper chamber. So lower chamber are known as, this one is known as left ventricle. Okay, and similarly this one is known as right ventricle. Okay, so always remember, your right side is your heart left side and your left side is your heart right side. Okay, so this one is the left ventricle and this one is the right ventricle. Okay, and this one and this chamber. This chamber, upper chamber, since it is left, this is left atrium. And this one is, yeah, correct. That is right atrium. Correct. Okay, so easy. That is left ventricle, left atrium, right ventricle and the right atrium. Okay. So before we going to discuss this complex topic, let me make it simple for you. Okay, so here is a simple diagram which will help you to remember the heart and its various veins and arteries. Okay, so let's suppose this box is our heart. Okay, so this one is your right side, again this one is left. Okay, we denote the left ventricle with LV. Okay, left atrium with LA, right ventricle with RV, and the right atrium will I. But let's suppose this box is your lungs and this box is your body. Obviously your heart is in your body, just for the reference. Okay, so as we know that lungs, what is the function of lungs? So the function of lungs is to oxygenate blood. Okay, it provides oxygenated blood. Okay, so lungs supply blood to the left atrium, and then from the left atrium the blood goes into the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle the blood goes into the body. Okay, it's just simple diagram. So this is the path of blood. Okay, so you can remember from this that lungs से blood कहाँ आता है? Left atrium, left atrium से left ventricle and left ventricle से body. So from lungs, this is the left atrium. किसके through आया? From what? Okay, so lungs, that is pulmonary vein. Okay, pulmonary vein brings blood to the left atrium. Okay, left atrium gives blood to the left ventricle, and left ventricle gives blood to the aorta. Okay, and aorta supplies the oxygenated blood to the body. Now from body, all the cells of our body uses oxygen, right, and left out deoxygenated blood. Okay, so सारा deoxygenated blood from the body will goes into the right atrium. Correct? Through what? Through vena cava. And from right atrium again blood goes into the right ventricle, and from right ventricle blood goes into the lungs for the oxygenation. Okay, this one is again pulmonary artery. Okay, so let us remember again. So from lungs, the blood goes into the pulmonary vein. From pulmonary vein, it goes into the left atrium. From left atrium, it goes into the left ventricle. From left ventricle, it goes into the aorta. From aorta to the body. Body use here oxygenation, oxygenated blood. So from the body, deoxygenated blood goes into the vena cava. This one is vena cava. From vena cava, the blood goes into the right atrium. From right atrium, the blood goes into the right ventricle. And from right ventricle, the blood goes into the pulmonary artery, which takes the blood to the lungs for the oxygenation. Correct? Just remember one thing, artery. Aorta is the biggest artery. Arteries always carries blood away from the heart. That is A for artery. And A means away. It carries blood, always carries blood away from the heart. Okay, this one is aorta. It is carry blood away from the heart. Okay, this one is pulmonary artery. This is carry blood away from the heart. Okay, and veins. Veins brings always blood towards the heart. Okay, there is an exception, that is pulmonary vein, which brings oxygenated blood, and there is exception again, that is pulmonary artery, which brings deoxygenated blood. All arteries, just remember, all arteries carries oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery, and all veins carry deoxygenated blood except pulmonary vein. Okay, so if you draw the flow chart of this, it will become so easy to remember. That is from lungs, okay, blood goes into the pulmonary vein, PV. From PV, the blood goes into the left atrium. From left atrium, blood goes to the left ventricle, LV. Just you have to practice 2 or 3 times. You will remember all of this stuff. That's quite easy. From LV, it goes into the aorta. Aorta is the body. From body, it goes into the vena cava. Okay, so from vena cava, the blood goes into the RA, and from RA, that is RV. From RV, the blood goes into the pulmonary artery and back to the lungs. Okay, so just remember, this one is the left side, and left side is always oxygenated. मतलब यहाँ से यहाँ तक. Okay, this means from lungs to the body there is oxygenated blood. Left side oxygenated blood. Right side, as you can see, there is deoxygenated blood. Right side, deoxygenated blood. What does it mean? Lord, yeah, God always exists. Okay, so left side always carries oxygenated blood, and right side always carries deoxygenated blood. Okay, so from there, this is oxygenated blood, and here it is sorry, there's little space here, deoxygenated blood. Correct. So this is the easy flow diagram to remember all these things. Okay, so now come to this diagram, as we can so this will become easy to understand this by taking the reference of this diagram. So guys, this one is your left ventricle. Okay, this one is your right ventricle, this one is your left atrium, and this one is your right atrium. There is a tissue, muscles, which name is myocardium. So what do you understand by myo? Myo means obviously muscle. Don't take it like mayonnaise, okay? And cardium, okay? So cardium words is associated with the heart. Okay, so myocardium is the muscle of heart. Correct? So our heart muscles, you know, the myocardium, it provides the rhythmic contraction and the relaxation movement to the heart. Whenever the heart contracts, okay, it pumps blood away from the heart, and whenever the heart relaxes, heart is receiving the blood. Okay, so myocardium performs the contraction and relaxation movement. Okay, as you can know, the contraction means systole, you know, we often check our blood pressure, that is 120/80. Okay, मजा आता है check करने में when BP is low. Okay, BP is high, it might be dangerous. Okay, so contraction and relaxation. So contraction term is associated with the systole word. Okay, whenever systolic pressure, that is 120 mmHg is the systolic pressure. Okay, whenever your heart gets contracted, it is a systolic pressure, and this one is relaxation, means diastole. There's little space. Okay, this one is diastolic pressure. So the normal heart pressure is 120/80 mmHg. This one is systolic or diastolic pressure. And 140/90, this with 140/90 and something is considered as high blood pressure, which might be dangerous for the vital organs such as heart and the brain. Okay, so systole means contraction and the diastole means relaxation, which we will learn later on. Okay, so come to this topic. So this is myocardium. As you can see here, the left ventricle has the thick myocardium muscles, whereas the right ventricle has very thin myocardial muscles. Correct? Why? Because the left ventricle has to pump. As you can see here, the left ventricle has to pump the blood all over the body, right? So it might be receiving blood from the left atrium in under high pressure. Okay, so the myocardium, the thick muscles, will help the left cardium to tolerate that high pressure, that to not collapse under high pressure. Okay, that's why the left ventricle has the thick myocardium, whereas the right ventricle, the blood is no longer under pressure in the right ventricle. As you can see, it is receiving just from the body, the deoxygenated blood, so it is not under pressure. That's why the myocardium layer is thin here. Okay, so as you can see the reference here, the left ventricle gives the blood to the aorta, that is the biggest artery. So here we can see, let me use the other color for you. Let me write LV, RV, LA and R. Correct? So from here, that is LV, oxygenated blood. Oh, goes into the where? Aorta. This is our aorta. Correct? So here the one which is marked in red, the oxygenated blood goes into the aorta. Okay. So here from the right ventricle, let me use the other color here. As you can see, the left side oxygenated blood and the right side is deoxygenated blood. So deoxygenated blood, let me mark with the blue, but don't tell me that the blood is blue. Okay, goes into the from the right ventricle. As you can see, from the right ventricle, blood goes into the pulmonary artery. Okay, and then to the lungs for the oxygenation. So let me correctly draw the path here. Okay, so from here the blood goes into the what? Pulmonary artery. There's two lungs. Okay, both of these pulmonary arteries goes into the different lungs. Okay, so the left side will give blood, oxygenated blood to the aorta, and the right ventricle will give the deoxygenated blood to the pulmonary artery, and then pulmonary artery will give blood to the lungs for the oxygenation. Okay, gives blood to the lungs for oxygenation, for adding oxygen. Correct? Now comes the left atrium. Okay, so you can see from the lungs, the left atrium is receiving blood, oxygenated blood from the pulmonary vein. So these two pulmonary vein, there are four pulmonary vein basically. So these two pulmonary vein brings out oxygenated blood into the left atrium. And this blood flows into the left ventricle, and the left ventricle will give blood to the aorta. Okay, there is the aorta. There comes the aorta. Correct. And as you can see, there is the right ventricle, which I have marked with the blue, that is deoxygenated blood. So right ventricle is giving your deoxygenated blood to the pulmonary artery for their oxygenation, and similarly the right atrium is receiving blood. As you can see, the right atrium is receiving blood from the vena cava. Okay, so this one is inferior vena cava, and this one is superior vena cava. Okay, so from inferior vena cava, the blood comes into the right atrium from the lower body parts. Okay, from the lower body parts like lower limbs, hands. Okay, this one. And from the superior vena cava, from the head and shoulder, the deoxygenated blood is received by the right atrium. This one is deoxygenated blood, one which is marked with the blue. Correct? So this is the whole heart cycle. Let me explain it again so that it will become easier for you. Okay, so human heart has basically 4 chambers, that is left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium and the right ventricle. Okay. Okay, so first of all, the left atrium is receiving blood. From where it is receiving blood? From pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein is coming from the lungs. Okay, so from lungs it is receiving blood, left atrium, the oxygenated blood, and it gives that oxygenated blood to the left ventricle. Okay, so blood is coming under pressure in the left ventricle, so it has a thick wall. Myocardium is a thick wall here, so that it will prevent it from collapsing. From left ventricle, the oxygenated blood has to be supplied to all the body parts. Okay, so from here it goes into the aorta. So from here the oxygenated blood goes into the aorta. Okay, aorta is the biggest artery. Correct. So all our body cells uses oxygen. Okay, and gives out deoxygenated blood. Okay, oxygenated blood means oxygen rich blood, and deoxygenated blood means जिसके पास oxygen नहीं है, तो वह blood which doesn't have oxygen. Okay, okay. So the deoxygenated blood from the lower body parts, okay, that is inferior vena cava, and from the upper body parts, that is from superior vena cava, comes back into the right atrium. Okay, and this blood goes into the right ventricle. This blood is no longer under pressure. That's why it doesn't need that high, that wall. Okay, so thick wall. So from right ventricle, this deoxygenated blood goes into the pulmonary artery for oxygenation, and this pulmonary artery will again give blood to the lungs. Okay, so there must be something which prevents the backflow of blood. Okay, so whenever the blood comes from left atrium to the left ventricle, there is a valve. Okay, and that valve is let me write with the black. I get this will mix up. Okay, so from left atrium to left ventricle, there is a bicuspid valve or mitral valve. Valve will prevent the backflow of blood. Okay, it will not allow the blood from ventricles to go back into the atrium. Okay, whenever the blood comes from atrium to ventricles, it will create pressure which shuts this door. Okay, which shuts this door. This is bicuspid valve. And similarly here, there is tricuspid valve. Okay, you can remember this TB. Okay, TB. Simply you can remember. That is not tuberculosis. Okay, TB you can remember for the reference. So that obviously you know that this one is your right side and this one is your left side. TB, tricuspid and bicuspid. Bicuspid is also known as mitral valve. MB, all of you are using net this case, so you can remember MB, that is mitral valve, bicuspid. These little things will help you to correct your questions in your exam. Okay, actually it will help you. Okay, so this one is that, and even this one, even in the opening of aorta and in the opening of pulmonary artery, there is a valve which is named as semilunar valve. Okay, you can understand it from here. There is a semilunar valve because once the blood comes into the aorta, it will not flow back into the ventricle. Okay. So once again, this is the last thing. Left side is the oxygenated blood and the right side is the deoxygenated blood. Left side LORT. Okay. Lungs will give blood to the pulmonary vein to the left atrium to the left ventricle to the aorta to the body. Okay, body gets oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood goes into the vena cava goes into the right atrium. From right atrium, the blood goes into the right ventricle, and from right ventricle goes to the pulmonary artery, and from lungs. You have to revise 2 or 3 times. You will remember each and every point. Okay. Again, here you can see the left atrium, left pulmonary veins brings blood to the left atrium gives the blood to the left ventricle gives blood to the this one aorta. Okay, aorta gives blood to the body. Okay, from the body, the deoxygenated blood from the lower side and the upper side. From the lower side or upper side, from lower side inferior vena cava and from upper side superior vena cava, the blood goes into the right atrium. From right atrium, blood goes into the right ventricle. Correct. From right ventricle, the blood goes into the pulmonary artery. You can see here the pulmonary artery. Okay. So, and this pulmonary word is associated with the lungs. The lungs done the oxygenation of the blood again, and the cycles repeat. This is the fine structure of the human heart. I hope you like the classes, and so that's all. Thank you.